Dream catchers have been cherished as symbols of protection and positivity for centuries. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through easy steps to craft your own handmade dream catcher, a unique and meaningful addition to your space or a thoughtful gift for someone special. Let's begin. Here's what you'll need to make your dream catcher. A sturdy circular base. This can be a craft ring, a round household item, or memory wire used for jewelry. It should be firm and hold its shape. Threads, preferably cotton-based, for a natural look and durability. A thicker thread for wrapping the hoop. A thinner thread for weaving the web. Some additional supplies. Beads in different sizes. Feathers, either natural or decorative. Scissors, glue, and a needle. Now, let's get started. Wrapping the hoop. Take your hoop and a thick thread or cord. Begin wrapping it tightly around the entire hoop, making sure each wrap sits snugly against the previous one without any gaps. This step is essential for creating a strong foundation for your dream catcher. At the start, leave a small piece of thread hanging outside the hoop. Once you've wrapped it all the way around, cut the thread, leaving a little extra length. Now, you should have 2 loose ends. Tie them together securely to create a hanger for your dream catcher. Make sure the knot is firm, as this will allow your dream catcher to hang properly and stay balanced. This process requires a bit of patience, but it's worth it. Taking your time to ensure even wrapping will give your dream catcher a polished and professional look. Attaching the web thread. Take a piece of thin thread and firmly tie it to the hoop. Leave about 4 inches, 10 centimeters, of thread hanging on one side. This tail will come in handy later. The longer end will be your working thread, which you'll use to weave the web. Make sure the knot is secure so it doesn't slip as you start creating the pattern. This thread will form the foundation of the intricate web design, so take a moment to adjust it if needed. With your thread in place, you're now ready to begin weaving the beautiful and delicate web of your dream catcher. Creating the first layer of the web. Take a thin thread and thread it through a needle. Slide a round bead onto the thread and move it close to the knot where you first attached the thread to the hoop. Now, create a loop by wrapping the thread over the hoop and pulling it through. This forms the first section of your dream catcher's web. Adjust a bead so it sits in the center of this segment. Continue looping the thread evenly around the hoop, making sure each section is spaced consistently. The number of sections you create is up to you. A minimum of 8 sections gives a well-balanced look. For smaller hoops, 10, 12 sections work beautifully. For larger hoops, 16 or more sections create a more intricate design. In this tutorial, the web is woven with 12 sections, but feel free to adjust the number based on your preference. Keep in mind, the last section is slightly different from the others. I'll show you exactly how to do it in the next step. Finishing the first row and moving to the next layer. Now, take the short thread end that was left at the beginning. Thread your needle through it and slide a bead onto this end, then remove the needle. Next, tie both ends of the thread together in a secure knot, ensuring the knot sits perfectly at the center of the last segment. This step locks the first row in place and sets the foundation for the next layer of the web. With the first row complete, you're ready to continue weaving and build upon the pattern. Continuing the web design thread, the long end of the string back into the needle. Starting with the bead from the last segment, pass the needle through it and then continue threading through each bead in the following segments one by one. Ensure each bead stays centered between the points where the thread is attached. Keep the thread slightly taut to maintain an even and well-structured web. Now, let's move on to completing this row. Securing the second row. When you reach the end of the row, gently tighten the working thread to keep the web firm and symmetrical. Then tie it securely to the other end of the thread, creating a knot right at the center of the last segment of this row, between two adjacent beads. This step locks in the second row, forming another layer of the dreamcatcher's web. Now, you're all set to continue weaving the next layers. Weaving the web and completing the design. Using the working thread with a needle, make a loop at the center of a segment from the previous row and gently pull it tight. This process gradually brings the web together, forming a structured and balanced pattern. Continue looping through the center of each segment as you work in a circular motion, ensuring that each loop is even and symmetrical. As you move around the hoop, keep a steady hand and maintain consistent tension in the thread. This will help your web maintain its shape and structure. Building the web. To continue weaving, start a new row by creating loops at the center of the previous row's segments. As you go along, take a moment to adjust the tension and positioning of each section. This process will make sure your web develops evenly, with a clean and intricate design. Keep repeating this technique row by row, allowing the web to grow inward toward the center of your dream catcher. If desired, you can add small beads between the loops for an extra decorative touch. Finishing touches. Once your web is complete, carefully tie a secure knot at the center of the last row. Trim any excess thread with sharp scissors, making sure not to loosen the knots. To reinforce the structure, apply a small drop of glue to the final knot, ensuring that everything remains firmly in place over time. Allow the glue to dry completely before moving on to the next steps. Now, take a step back and admire your work. Your dreamcatcher's web is beautifully finished. It serves as the heart of your dreamcatcher, adding a delicate yet intricate element to your design. Up next, we'll add the decorative elements that will complete your unique creation. Adding hanging threads and beads. Cut several pieces of thick thread, the same type you used to wrap the hoop, and attach them evenly along the bottom of the dreamcatcher. Space them out so they hang symmetrically. Suggested amount 3 to 5 strands, but feel free to add more or fewer based on your design preference. Each strand will have 2 loose ends, where we'll add decorative beads. Cylindrical or barrel-shaped beads work especially well, as their elongated shape enhances the overall look. For easier threading, use a needle to slide one bead onto each loose end. Adjust them to your liking and get ready for the final step. Attaching feathers and final touches. Gather a few feathers and arrange them in small groups. If needed, apply a tiny drop of glue to the base of the feathers for extra hold. But if they fit snugly into the bead, you can skip the glue. Carefully insert the feather stems into the bead openings and let them set until the glue is completely dry. Once everything is secure, trim any excess thread for a clean, polished look. And that's it. Your dream catcher is complete.